December 21st brings the winter solstice this year, and today I'm going to be sharing a few ideas for how you may want to honor this time. Hi, welcome to Gently Being. As you can see, I'm bundled up because it's definitely getting cooler and windier where I am, and I wanted to share some ideas for how you may want to celebrate the winter solstice. Again, like last year, it looks like most of our celebrations will have to be small or even solitary. So I have brought in the video I made from last year about ideas for the winter solstice during COVID, because it looks like we are continuing the COVID winter solstice traditions this year. Here we go! In the Northern Hemisphere, December 21st marks the longest night of the year. And after that, we have the gradual return of more and more light. The winter solstice and Yule are a wonderful time for welcoming in the light, for preparing ourselves and welcoming in the new, while bidding adieu to the old and thanking it for all that it has given and taught us. It is also a wonderful time for reflecting on all that you have learned or shed. Perhaps you let go of things that you no longer needed during the past autumn and all the time that was from the summer solstice to the winter solstice. So those are just a couple of themes that you may want to keep in mind when you decide on what you would like to do on the winter solstice. And now I'm going to go ahead and share 6 ideas that you may want to play with on December 21st. The first idea is to create a Yule altar space or a winter solstice altar space. Some of the things you may want to put on your altar space are evergreens, holly, pine cones, the sort of flora that you find outside and on the ground at this time, really honoring the season that we're in. You may also want to consider like putting some orange slices out or some oranges out or lemons, because they are representing the welcoming back of the sun. Cinnamon is another great thing to add to your winter solstice altar space, or perhaps you would like to put up some little gnomes, just anything that's really speaking to you for this day, for this time, for this holiday and ritual. Lastly, you'll want to make sure that you include some candles on your altar space if you decide to make one. Idea number 2, a prayer and or meditation for welcoming in the light. This you may want to do at your altar space if you decide to make one, but it's just simply a prayer to the sun that is returning to us, or a meditation on the gradual returning of the light. And I think, again, it's a really wonderful time for you to just think about what your heart wants to say and let that guide what your prayer and meditation becomes. Last year for the winter solstice, I hosted and organized an indoor walking labyrinth for the winter solstice, and it was so much fun and I really loved doing it. People from my community could sign up for a time slot to take their time to walk through and do a walking meditation through the labyrinth, and it was definitely one of the highlights of the year for me. But of course, during this year and COVID-19, that's not something that is available to do in such a public forum. But I do think that if you have this space, you can set up a small labyrinth within, if you're lucky enough to have a back or front yard, you could make one in your yard, or even if you have a nice living room space, you may want to just set up a little bit of like a spiral walking labyrinth. Again, to make this, you can just gather some sticks, fallen evergreen branches, pine cones, things you find outside, to create that spiral labyrinth that you then do a walking meditation through. So if you have this space and the time available, it can be something that's really quite beautiful and spiritually fulfilling to do for the winter solstice. Idea number 4, create a Yule log. A Yule log is a wonderful piece to add to your altar space or any sort of space where you have that you can safely have some candles in it. And if you're able to, find a log and to drill the holes in to hold the candles, it can be a really wonderful addition. As you can see with the pictures I'm sharing, it gives you, a really idea of what a simple Yule log can look like. Or you can again just bring in something from outside, a branch, or if you're able to get a log somewhere, just put that simply on your altar space or somewhere that you just want to bring inside for the winter solstice. Even if you don't have anything like that, you can just set up 3 candles that are for the winter solstice. And you want to start by just having all the light extinguished so that you take some time to honor that darkness that surrounds us during the winter solstice. And then one by one slowly light the candles as we gradually greet and allow more light into our lives. Idea number 5, bake some sun bread, also known as some Yule bread or some star bread. This can be something wonderful to do if you live with other people or some young ones. And if you just type into Google sun bread, winter solstice bread, Yule bread, or star bread, and you can see on the images I'm sharing just some ideas of what they look like, you'll find some recipes. There's even a really wonderful children's book that's all about baking some sun bread to welcome in the sun, or just come up with your own recipe and design it so that it looks like the sun, and as it rises in the oven, you know that that light is returning, and it's something yummy that you can have during that evening of the winter solstice. And idea number 6 is to do a tree blessing. If you have a tree in your house or you will be bringing one into your house, this is a lovely time to do a blessing to the tree. I personally have a tree that I'm actually just holding on my apartment balcony at this time, and I'm going to bring in on the winter solstice to help celebrate the winter solstice and to do a tree blessing with. And this is a tree that I can then plant once spring rolls around again. So if you are able to, that's another lovely ritual and tradition that you may want to start. Thanks so much for tuning in to Gently Being. I hope that some of these ideas have inspired you to celebrate Yule and winter solstice this December. And maybe you'll just get like that little spark of an idea from one of the ideas I shared, because it's really important to make your traditions, make your rituals your own. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below and hit the bell notification so you always know when there's a new video. Once again, thanks so much for spending time with Gently Being.